counselor here. Okay, thank you.
Would you like to introduce me? So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is David from Thailand University. I will be sharing this panel. There is no title of the whole panel. It's called Food and Medicine Number 1. For this panel, we have 3 presenters. First, I'd like to introduce you to Professor Ichibuchi. He is from Kyoto University. Please. So in order to cut the time, because we are late now, so I like to introduce one by one and then invite each presenter to the panel. Then let they present paper within about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I will try.
Okay. Please. Yeah. Professor, yes, just briefly, I'd like to introduce Professor Nishibuchi. He is now the Professor of Division of Integrated Area Studies. He has done research. He is graduated from microbiology at Oregon State University in the USA in 1983, and he has done research in many countries. I just conversed with him, and he will be presenting a comparative study of Thailand and Indonesia. But actually, he also done research in Vietnam. It's very interesting. His title is Eating Habit Cultivated by Tradition, Culture, and Religion is an Effective Means for Prevention of a Major Seafood-Borne Infectious Disease. And subtitle is quite long. So please, Dr. Ishibushi.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to be able to deliver my lecture here today. I very much appreciate organizers of this meeting for invitation. Yesterday and today we have heard many good Thai food heritage stories, but not all Thai heritages may be very good. So I am here to suggest the Thai people to improve one of such heritages. Actually, that sentence indicated in yellow looks very good, but this applies only to Indonesia, but not to Thailand. This slide shows what I am going to explain one by one. I am a microbiologist dealing with pathogenic bacterium called Vibrio parahemolyticus. And so I will explain what is Vibrio parahemolyticus first. And recently there is a pandemic spread of infection by new type of Vibrio parahemolyticus. So I will talk about the emergence and spread of infection by this pandemic clone, and then we talk about source of infection by pandemic clone is a molluscan shellfish. And then finally, I will talk about how to prevent the infection by this pandemic problem. Then I can explain the culture and other socio-economic and religion may influence the incidence, and then it's important for control of infection. Let's start with what is Vibrio parahemolyticus. Vibrio is microorganisms belonging to the genus Vibrio, and most dominant bacterial population in the marine and estuary environments. Of many species, 10 species are known to be involved in human diseases. Excuse me. These are the human pathogenic species, but of these, 3 shown in red are considered most important. And Vibrio parahemolyticus is a very important seafood-borne pathogen causing diarrhea in humans. About the epidemiology, if seafood is contaminated with a virulent strain, and if it is improperly cooked and consumed, infection is established. Infection is usually sporadic, and an outbreak has usually been limited to a small community scale. Next, I will talk about emergence of pandemic clone. I had a collaborative study with the Indian people in Calcutta Infectious Disease Hospital. In February 1996, all of a sudden, there was a big increase in the number of the patients infected by Vibrio parahemolyticus. Soon, I had collaborated with scientists in other countries, and we found a recent increase in Vibrio parahemolyticus infection in various countries was attributable to emergence of new type of the Vibrio parahemolyticus represented by serotype O3K6. Just to show you the characteristics of pandemic strains and show that I am a microbiologist, you don't have to pay much attention to these. But examination of these bacteria is very time consuming and labor intensive. So we developed a simple method to easily detect pandemic strain, and we named it GS-PCR for group specific PCR. This has been very useful in our study, but I am not going to talk about this. Next, I will show you spread of infection by the pandemic clone. This, I believe, started somewhere in Asia, but I don't have the detailed information, but it spread from Asia to other parts of the world, including Europe, South America, and earlier North America, and Africa. So this is causing a real worldwide spread of infection. I call this a pandemic. Okay, then we became interested in the source of infection for the pandemic spread of the new clone. And I will show you some of the results, and we finally reached the conclusion the source of infection is a molluscan shellfish. Bivalve. I'll show you the picture. Okay, back in year 2000, we looked at the statistics at the Japanese quarantine stations to see the number of the patients infected by Vibrio parahemolyticus who arrived at the Japanese quarantine station, and we looked from which country those patients came from. And unfortunately, number 1 was Thailand. So we started a collaborative study in southern Thailand because in this area, seafood is a delicacy, and many people eat a lot of seafood. And I collaborated with Dr. Wara, Dr. Kun, and others. And in 1 year, in 1999, we had specimens from patients with diarrhea from 2 city hospitals. And surprisingly, there were as many as 317 cases of Vibrio parahemolyticus infection in these 2 hospitals. More than 70% of the Vibrio parahemolyticus was the pandemic type, new clone. So we conclude the infection by this pandemic clone is very, very prevalent in this area. So we suspected some seafood in this area may carry the new clone, that is new type of Vibrio parahemolyticus. It is not very easy to isolate such a virulent strain from environmental samples, including seawater and seafood. So we used a very sophisticated technique called immunomagnetic separation technique to examine the seafood in southern Thailand. And this allowed us to succeed in isolation of the pandemic strains. Over 4 years, we examined various types of seafood. And we finally found bivalves or molluscan shellfish carry the new type of pandemic strains. And part of the reason is that molluscan shellfish are the so-called filter feeders, and they concentrate vibrios in the aquatic environment by filter feeding. So this is one of the most dangerous seafood. And these are the actual molluscan shellfish or bivalves from which we isolated pandemic strains. I hope most of you are familiar with these shellfish. You can find particularly these bloody clams on the street in Bangkok, I suppose. And among these shellfish, bloody clams is the one widely traded among Asian countries. So this is a very important shellfish we judged. And to confirm that the pandemic strain contained in these molluscan shellfish are the real source of infection, we did a very detailed molecular genetic analysis of the isolated strains. But I don't think you have to understand this. You have to believe me that the strains in molluscan shellfish are causing infection in this area. So, what's the next step? Okay, we really have to think about prevention of infection. And our conclusion is prevention is possible by eating habit cultivated by tradition, culture, and religions in Indonesia, but not in Thailand. I'm sorry, but there is a long story about this. This is the main topic today. Okay, first I have to mention that important risk factors for Vibrio parahemolyticus infection in Thailand include habit of cooking molluscan shellfish only for a short time. I heard from many people, if you cook the shellfish for a long time, the meat becomes tough and you don't like that taste. But that is a problem. We try to persuade the people so that they can cook longer. But the answer was my pen lie. This is our problem. And I think in the background there is an idea. The people here are so generous. then don't care very much about many things. Maybe the religion, a religion may be, related to this, because this is in contrast to other countries that I'm going to talk about. Okay. Next, what we did was we studied the transmission of shellfish-mediated pandemic strain. Bloody clams and other clams. And we are looking at the route of transmission. And during the course of the study, we found that very few infections took place in Malaysia and much less in Indonesia. And I thought these are halal countries. They pay much attention to what they eat. So then our idea is that are the patients infected by Vibrio parahemolyticus in Indonesia? If not, why? So we examined this aspect. One of my graduate students started the study in Indonesia last year, and it is still on, but we have enough evidence to support what I said. I introduced our result obtained in Hajai, southern Thailand. But we looked at Malaysia and then paid attention to Indonesia.